on the interface part, I think.
Right. Yeah. So,
I'm about
how
to
did you
stream
do
this,
the
by the
fly?
way.
Said that's visual scripting?
I'm about to stream this, so just be aware.
Okay.
Yes, visual
Okay.
scripting. So what they do is you're allowed to use visual scripting in here, and I think there's like 15,000 different nodes. It's node-based scripting, so you don't have to necessarily know much about scripting itself. And you build it with the node base. It's like Blender, the way you build materials, node based, and like
Okay.
Unity, kind of like with what's I can't remember the scripting, the shader scripting, shader graph.
Yeah.
I'm about
Yeah.
to stream this,
I
so
couldn't
just
think
be
of it
aware.
either.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, visual
Okay.
scripting, so the shader scripting,
Okay. Wow.
shader.
Add that in here to be perfectly honest. I haven't heard of anyone doing that before, so I had no idea.
It they
Just done
it's
pretty
just been
basic things.
recent. They did all these updates, maybe the past 5 or 6 months, but they're really going strong on these
Okay.
updates. And I would say it's
Nice.
definitely
Nice.
something to look into because it makes life a lot easier for people who don't necessarily know much about C sharp. That's more complicated. This
Mm-hmm.
node-based stuff, it's still a little complicated, but the nodes when you connect them with wires are actual scripts in the background. So you basically build the scripts with nodes. So you wire them
Okay.
together. So it's pretty good.
Nice. Nice. Um, I imagine there's some tutorials out somewhere that I could look at to learn how to do this.
When I get a moment,
Maybe.
I can send you I'm gonna see if I can get you an invite to the Slack. There's a Slack channel for the creatives in Spatial.
Okay. Awesome. That would be fantastic.
I'm just gonna go put this live. Hold on a second. Yeah, so we've been doing the event in here for a little bit. It's a little slow, but the community here is very nice. Yay, we're live!
Okay. Nice. Is it a lot of the old crowd?
Uh, Not so much. Kurt, I don't even remember Kurt. Kurt showed up 2 events ago. Hopefully we see him. If anything,
Okay.
if Kurt is watching Facebook right now, Kurt, get your butt in here.
Yeah.
But
What's that?
Nico stopped in when I was testing stuff the other day, maybe about a week ago actually. And it's slow. Garnet's in here. Lost Wild, he's in here. We did the event, and some random people have been bouncing in a lot, which is pretty nice. So all in all, it's pretty good. I think really in the end, the thing that AltSpace did was grow kind of like made challenges for other places because there's so much work that really should go into something like this, like promoting it and stuff like that in social medias and things like that, which will make it a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier for people. But AltSpace kind of had that built in. I don't want to say it made some folks a little bit on the lazier side, but I think in the end, for a second, I don't know why. I don't know why. I missed what you said. Oh, look who showed up.
Hey,
Hey. Yeah, Nico, if you click on the ground, you go straight to the ground. So,
when I click where? Ah, like a teleport. No.
that makes you just float and then you can move fast to the ground. It's just a little more complicated because when I turn gravity off completely, it just floated out of here. And when you put it on very low, you just slowly float down. But other than that, and you can move.
Yeah. In VR chat, I have a script where I can just press tab and then I can fly around. And when I press tab again, I can.
We'll see who shows up. And Kalima, if you're in the air, if you
Yeah,
move
I
forward,
know.
you can
I'm
fly.
up here.
You can fly if you move forward. And all the lanterns have go inside of them.
Oh, okay.
Everyone come into the virtual conversation. The constructions are in the Facebook stream and the YouTube stream. Don't be lazy.
I saw Joanne come in here.
Yeah, she was. I don't know what happened. I got disconnected already once. I don't know why. I don't know if everyone else is experiencing this problem I'm having right now. I am actually keep on getting disconnected from the audio server. Testing 1 2. Testing. It is not working. There it is. I keep on getting disconnected from the audio server. I don't know if people are having the same problem I am. If they are, please tell me so I can report it to Spatial. It just might be my internet connection. We are, of course, off-grid here at the Heartland Collective, where we use Starlink to get onto the internet. And Lost Wild has entered. Let's go join him.
Check.
Hello, Lost. Lost Wild.
Check.
Yeah.
What's up?
I don't know if it's going to happen to everyone else, but
Hey,
I keep
how
on
come
getting
no one's
disconnected
here?
for the audio server. Can you hear us?
I'm going to swim in this toxic stew.
The toxic stew. That's not toxic stew. It's fluffernutter.
Stewie.
Yes, it's fluffernutter with cocoa. I just died.
It's like, how do you fly downwards? I guess you just gotta let
Just click the ground.
gravity take
Just click the
it
ground.
away.
You click on the ground. Lost.
There's
I-
mine.
You click on the ground.
I think you can, if you want to come down fast, you can teleport to the ground. But
Yes.
at one point, I
that's
think I was
good.
too high. I couldn't quite reach it.
That sounds like a problem I
I
have right now.
waited
I'm way too high.
till I came
Definitely-
down a little bit.
I'm definitely too high.
Nico's in the house. Brian's in the house with that freaky avatar.
Oh, thanks, dude.
It's like an invisible person wearing an invisible dress.
I like how these
It's
avatars.
a Hebrew
arms,
hammer wearing
how
a
these arms
transparent
move.
dress.
The arms move when you're falling or you're moving, so
It's pretty cool. If I had a dress like that, I'd wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably, knowing Brian, it's probably what do they call those? Sacred geometry shapes? Is that part of the deal?
This was just the first virtual.
Well, that's
lantern.
one
I
of the
can see
lantern
your-
girls from
Yeah.
up there.
You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah. The
you guys
actual,
hear me?
whatever, octagon.
Yeah, I see what
or
you mean.
Okay, great.
The shape is, there's some meaning behind it.
The only way you can find the meaning of this dress is you have to look up.
I don't know anything about sacred geometry other than there is geometry that apparently gives good vibrations or something like that.
The
And
secret
there's
is under the
some
dress.
geometry that gives, like,
Here, look.
I don't know, creates bad atmosphere, bad feng shui or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, that you said good vibrations, and that Beach Boys song has been stuck in my head for about 2 weeks, and you just got it going
Really?
again, so darn you.
Oh man, sorry about that. Hey, well, that must mean, what is the universe trying to tell you if this
Wow.
song is going through your head, and then I come in here and then I confirm it to you? What's going
Ooh,
on?
I don't know.
Why,
I don't know.
what's the message of good vibrations?
The AI.
What is it?
I need to
You're
be
supposed to
either
hear
looking
without
to find some good vibrations or give out some good vibrations or both. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah, I
I'll
think
have to
so.
ponder that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Wow.
it's not a coincidence, right? Like, I mean,
Right,
I
right.
never usually say that word, and then I come in here and just drop it like I had to say it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The vibrations.
That's
Maybe it's
crazy.
something to do with, um, I know Brian had like part of, he's working on this project with there's this kind of booth, a healing booth or whatever, where you sit in it
Oh, right.
It's called
and it
Yes,
Infinipod.
creates,
yes.
It's the
they
Infinipod.
run frequencies through it, and
The
it,
Infinipod.
you know, helps kind of helps you, or heals you.
Hey, Garnet, can you hear me?
I don't know
Right.
much about that
Garnet,
stuff, but
can
I'm
you hear me,
learning a
Garnet?
little bit more about it.
Garnet, can you hear me?
Yes. And I don't know if you know Dr. Heartbeats, but she also built a world in alt space, and then she's got it in VR chat now. And it's about how sound affects the body. She's got several different booths you can go into. It's a little bit different than the one that you're talking about, but it also has to do with sound healing the body and you know what you can feel from it. And I think she's
Yeah,
actually up for
we
some kind of
can't
an
hear you,
award for
Brian.
that.
Can you hear me, Kalima?
What's that?
Oh yeah, I'd like to check out that world. He's asking if we can hear him,
Kalima, can you
and
hear
we
me?
can't.
No,
Your
no, can't hear
Yeah,
you,
your
Brian.
microphone isn't working.
Okay.
Actually,
Heard you
your
before.
voice sounds. Oh, that was something. Your voice sounds kind of distorted to me.
Does it?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I
What
don't
I
know
was
if
hearing
it's
from
this whole
Brian
room.
before, maybe, is it, uh, what I was hearing with Brian was that his voice would kind of speed up all of a sudden, like maybe it had lagged and was trying to catch up.
Can you hear me now?
Is that what you're hearing from me also?
No, yours just sounds very just low digital kind of. Many.
The both sound
So
good for me.
Can you guys hear me now?
I could.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
Hey! It was probably better the other way. What big mouth I have.
Oh, yeah, Nico, how's your audio? What is it? What do we sound like to you?
You sound good for me. Both.
It's the desktop audio
It's
that's
good?
good. It's the headset audio that's not as great. I'm guessing, Kalima, you are in a Quest.
Yes, I am. I
Yes.
don't have a microphone on my PC.
You're not in PCVR though, but you're on the just straight up Quest because they deprecated.
No, I'm just
PCVR.
on the standalone Quest.
Oh, okay. You know what's interesting? Spatial had
I'm
PCVR.
I'm gonna
Deprecated.
try. I'm gonna try option B, which is my USB device. Yeah, see what that does.
Option B. That sounds like the Renegade Burn Plan B.
I guess
Joanne,
I
what's
could
up, yo?
probably try to plug in.
Hello, Joanne. It'll be fun. This whole entire trip in Spatial will be like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Brings back alt space memories. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Hi, Joanne.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I can
Okay.
hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to get on my headset and I can't. I don't know why.
Because they broke it again.
Oh.
Spatial, if you're listening, you broke it again.
Check 1, 2.
Oh, that sounds nice, dude. Go ahead. Just talk to me. Sweet nothings. Let me hear.
USB
Whoa.
output.
Yeah, it sounds good. Garnet. Talk to me. That with that sultry voice and that good microphone. I love it. Yeah.
There we go.
For a second there, I heard a nice microphone Garnet?
Yeah, so I switched to USB, which I have a good mic, but your guys' audio still sounds normal, not good.
Not good.
But maybe that's normal for spatial.
Your headset, you're a good quality mic. Actually sounds really nice in here, even with the crappy compressed voice thingamajig.
Okay. Yeah, this microphone is the Russian MK012,
Whoa.
which is they call it the poor man Shep's mic,
Oh, that's nice.
but it's good for indoor dialogue for filmmaking and stuff.
Oh, that sounds really good. So we're
Good.
here.
We could have an interview.
Yeah.
Hey everybody,
Hello.
welcome. Joanne Shivante is in the house. Kalima and Nico.
It's like the good old days, but not. No, of course I'm kidding.
Oh yeah, so I don't know if you heard our conversation. Yeah, we were talking about why Kalima's getting the good vibrations coming at her.
Oh, I heard all of
This
it. You just couldn't
message.
hear me. I just had to
Yeah.
I had to re-enter. So here we are once again.
Here we are
Here we
once
are.
again.
Once again, where is everybody? It's going to take more marketing to get this thing going. It's live on the event page. So how's everything?
I'm going to log
with
out
you?
and come back in just a minute, okay? Give me just a minute. I'll be back, okay?
How's everything with you,
Let's
Joanne?
have a dessert.
How's all your stuff going?
It's a free thing, but it doesn't have the protein and everything.
Oh,
it is.
oh, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing.
It's okay. No, no one does.
How did I, what am I? Oh my gosh.
Hey, how
That's a
did your
slow
trip to
descent
town
down.
go today, Brian?
What was that? Say that again, Los?
Your trip to town was successful?
Yes, we dropped off a volunteer, and then we went to Costco, and then we went to grocery outlet.
That's a combination.
Oh yes, definitely. So exciting. And then we came back, and the cows were all outside. The cows
As
were
they
outside.
do.
They do. Like
The cows
moo.
will play
The cows will play.
when mom and dad go away.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened. So with this, it's just like Alt Space 2. We'll be here. It doesn't seem like anyone's showing up. Then, of course, right when everyone's about to leave, everyone starts showing up, and then we do the event. Like clockwork. So, Joanne, how's
Still in
everything
California.
with you? Tell us. Update.
Well, I do a weekly event in VR chat, and it's taken me a while to get used to it, but that's going pretty good. And I have a couple of worlds here in Spatial, but my worlds in VR chat are not so good. They
How
didn't.
come?
They didn't I don't know. They didn't transfer so well, and Jose doesn't have time right now because he's working on a bunch of other things. So it's okay because I really need to work on the nonprofit, which I've got that set up, and I've still got a ton of stuff to do for that. So
Cool.
I'm just trying to keep it a lot simpler now than when I was doing all the events in AltSpace. So minimal.
So are you officially a nonprofit now, or it's in the process of being official?
No, it's official.
Oh,
But
congratulations.
you still have to work on all that ugly paperwork for the government, but that
Yes.
doesn't have to be done right away.
That's good.
So I applied for my first grant last week, so I'm holding a lot of optimism for that. That would give me at least some startup capital to,
Cool.
get some things moving. Yeah.
Cool. We've got a lot going on here at Heartland Collective too.
Good.
We should definitely touch base because one of the things that Anders is
Mm.
going to do, of course I keep on forgetting the actual classification, business classification, but technically it's a faith-based organization. which
Mhm.
gives people the ability to operate kind of as a nonprofit, but also the ability to have really good, basically whatever a faith-based organization, the whatever comes with that, and you
Mhm.
basically create your own. What is your faith? So it's really an
Yeah.
entity that's it's a business entity where we can just make
Right.
life 3.0 the faith.
Yeah, we were going to go in that direction at one point. We decided not to. We decided to go in the arts direction with what we want to do.
Right. Well, that's all good. It just all depends on
Yeah.
whatever you need to do.
Yeah. Yeah, they go well together though.
Yes. So when is your events in VR chat? What time and day?
Thursday nights at 7.
7 Eastern.
So I have a nice theater. Yeah. I have a nice
interesting.
theater in there, darkened theater, and so I do videos and music, and we meditate and do satsang. It's pretty cool, nice little group that comes, keeping it simple.
Cool. We do an event here at 5:30 on Thursdays, but that's Pacific. Maybe I can pop in on a Thursday. Check it out. VR chat
Yeah.
while we're setting up.
Mhm. Yeah. I'll send you the group that I'm part of, and then you can see
Oh,
the
that's perfect.
instance on Thursdays. Yeah.
Excellent.
How about you? Have you been doing much in VR at all, or what?
We have a digital twin of the Heartland Collective in here. It's kind of a beta. It definitely needs a lot of work, but it's really good representation. It's completely accurate to where everything is. And it was designed, the buildings themselves were designed out by an architect. So everything is an
Oh yeah, I
exact
remember you
replica.
guys talking about that.
It's
Yeah.
an exact replica
Yeah, I
of
remember you
here,
guys working on that.
which is pretty awesome.
Cool.
We're in the
Mhm.
process of many things. We are trying to start an artisan residency program based on all
Mhm.
artist modalities. One of the things that Anders is looking to do is something called the National Grange. So we're working on starting that, which basically is an alliance of the farmers of the United States. And that'll also give us access to grants and things like that from the National
Mhm.
Grange. So we build up a membership model where it'll be the Heartland Grange. And the Heartland Grange will have, each member will have specific things that they can get as being a member. It'll be very cheap, and the basic membership will probably be like $50 a year, and part of that
Mhm.
goes to pay the National Grange whatever their their dues are, and it'll also include some basic things. Anders is thinking about having it include one night stay in one of the glamping tents,
Mhm.
which is a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Cool.
And just a
And
lot of other things.
Nico, do you have your worlds and spaces yet, Nico? Here or there or wherever, anywhere?
Not in Spatial, yeah, chat. Spatial wasn't. Like the problem with Spatial is like the size limits, and I wasn't able to port anything to Spatial because my projects are just too complex for Spatial. I talked to the developers and stuff, but they couldn't really do anything about it. It's just the architecture here that's limiting me too much. So I'm like putting everything into VRChat right now, and that works quite well. In Solar System, I had an alt spaces over there now. Like that was the first one I uploaded. It's already like much bigger than it was in alt space. Like
Mhm.
from the favorites, like 8,000 favorites or something. But then I like made my exoplanet worlds in VRChat, and that's like far beyond anything I ever had in alt space.
Mm.
So, hundreds of thousands of visitors and tens of thousands of favorites. And,
You already have
Cool.
hundreds of thousands of visitors in that space. That's great, dude.
at the moment, it's online for about 2 months now or 3 months, and it's at 216,000.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah,
Great. Awesome.
and
Yeah,
favorites
that's
is
cool.
almost 25,000 favorites. Yeah.
Wow, great.
Wow.
It's about like a few thousand visitors and like 200 to 500 favorites per day.
Yeah.
Are you getting some promotion for that? Like are people writing about that, bloggers and things like that? Are you getting some
Yeah, it's
publicity?
doing viral a bit. Like there were a few YouTubers talking about it. The VRChat developers on Twitter talked about it, actually using the space for developer updates,
Mm-hmm.
like for videos. But it's viral anyway, so people are using it. It's somewhere in trending most of the time in the top 50, and people are just hanging out there, having it as home spaces, using it for chill out, like as a chill out place, or even as an educational place. Like 3 weeks ago, I had a Japanese group over there, the Japanese teacher, like 60 people in there, that space, and they actually used it for an educational thing. And like he included all the slides into his avatar, and he made like a big presentation with all the measurements. A lot of research behind it. It was actually a YouTube video also. But it's like a really like it's really flexible. It doesn't have just one purpose. Like you can use it as an educational place, you can use it as a chill out meditation place, but you can also use it as a party space because they have all the audio links and stuff. So the system you have in VRChat, like for developers, if you know Udon, like it's so flexible compared to anything. Like you can do really everything just in one space, switching between different modes of the world, having a video player, audio link, like all that stuff. It's far more flexible than anything we had in Altspace, and far more than we can do, like on any platform actually. I think the only platform where you have that kind of flexibility would be Rec Room, but Rec Room is really limited on the shader side again. So I mean, VRChat at the moment is like far the most flexible tool for developers.
So do you have your so you have your planets in there, but do you have your art gallery stuff, your AI stuff in there too?
No, like we are using these shaders for certain projects, like me and Shushu. Like we had done it in like one space for Trip, where we are using these shaders like for different scenes, also audio linked, and we're also using it in like other projects, like the space for Venus, for example, Elysium and the club, Violet Club, also have these shaders now. So we are reusing it, and I will make a new concept for an art gallery. I will not just copy it. Like I wanted to do it here in Spatial, that's that AI art gallery, because it was already URP, but then it turned out it's impossible because it's too limited here, the upload size. Or not even the upload size. I think the upload size wouldn't even be an issue if I could optimize, but the main issue here is the whole project is limited. And usually my source files of the project are usually really big. And I don't really get the reason why you would limit the source files at all. So I can't do it. I really can't do it because my projects are just too big. So
So which source
yeah.
files are too big? Is it for the art gallery, the paintings themselves, the pictures, the whatever the
The
digital
paintings,
pictures?
I'm usually downscaling everything through input settings. And I don't really want to compress my source files. I mean, that's what Unity is for. So I would have to compress everything by hand, like even the sound files. It's all uncompressed. Like even like one sound file is already like 1/5 of the upload limit. So it's just
The upload
just
limit here
crazy.
is 500 megabytes, though. The upload limit here is 500
Yeah,
megabytes.
it's 500 megabytes, but for the project files, and that's the issue because my project files are more like 6 gigabyte for the art gallery, for example, and I would have to like go into each file manually and have to compress everything by hand, and that doesn't make any sense because like that's why you have Unity. Like in Unity you have import settings and it's compressing everything so you can upload. But the architecture decision from the spatial team is that you're uploading the source files and not the compressed like imported files.
Right.
And they will not change it. Like it's just the architecture thing, and they will not even change the limit. Like, but even if they would change the limit from 500 to 2 gigabyte now, it wouldn't really help me. They would have to do 8 gigabyte or something to actually make my worlds possible, and that would completely kill the servers. Like if you have to upload 8 gigabyte for each upload, and who's paying that space? Like it's too much. It will not work like that. So it's a basic architecture thing here in Spatial that is just limiting like the worlds forever. So
Is
yeah.
that because of WebGL, or is that just because of the way the Spatial is created?
No, it's because the spatial architects created it like that. It's the architecture decision they made. They had a reason. It's not like they didn't have a reason for it. I mean, it actually makes sense because they want to be able to port it to different platforms in the future without actually creators uploading everything again. So if they have the source files on the server, it's possible for them to port it to, I don't know, to another platform. But it's just limiting the developers. Like for my words, it's impossible. I was thinking about like making a simpler version, but I just don't have the time to do everything again in a more simple way. So I'm just concentrating at the moment on work I'm getting or my words in VR chat.
Right.
And like many people are using it, so I don't really have a reason to do anything on Spatial. I mean, I wouldn't get like even close to the numbers in VR chat here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, in the end, it's really about the vision of what the company is doing and who is actually coming to check out the spaces. And I'm just curious what those metrics are, like the amount of people who visit versus the amount of people who actually understand what's going on. And I don't mean like understand it because they're not smart. I mean who really kind of get it, and it's not just fun or just playing around. But I think it was that, Nico.
Yeah, it always depends on like who's getting into these spaces. I mean, Spatial is of course a platform where everything is like is going in. VR chat is difficult, and I get it. Like many, especially on the business side, you probably will not get anyone into VR chat. It's like it's just complicated platform. But still, like I'm at the moment concentrating on like the community, like the VR community, like they're actually living it, that whole concept about virtual spaces. And that's VR chat at the moment. Spatial is like, I think 90% of the people here are just using a web browser. And that's not really the people I want to reach. It's not like people,
Yeah, it's
like I
really
want to have
interesting. They had a
I
PCVR.
want to reach
They had
people.
PCVR in here, and they deprecated it.
Yeah, maybe it will change again, but still still many people wouldn't even use it for PC VR here because it's too simple. I mean, there's not a lot really to do here compared to other platforms, and I think it's not really. It was never like VR chat was not designed for gamers. It was not designed as an immersive experience. It was designed as an NFT gallery, and they are kind of trying to get now into this more like gamifying it a bit, but I don't know if it's working. I mean, they are making some adjustments on the scripting side. I think that's some good adjustments, but still, if you compare to Udon, it's like there's a big difference. Like they are just light years behind on that part, like on any part. The only thing that we like that I really like Spatial is the implementation of the URP pipeline and post-processing and all that in the browser. I think that's like something VRChat is kind of lacking because they're really far behind in the Unity version.
Right.
But that's about it. Like on the interactive side, on the scripting side, and the capabilities in general, I mean that's it's like a you can't even compare it. It's just a completely different.
I think one of the
Yeah.
things they've been working on is completely changing what Spatial is. It was more of a platform for corporate events, and business meetings, and it totally changed over the past year. So I think really, because technically a lot of this is still in beta, I think really what it takes is a lot of the people in the community to actually start speaking up. I mean, they do have a Discord
but
and they have a Slack.
But I don't know if it's a good idea to actually go into that direction because they can't compete. They will never be able to compete with a VR chat or a Rec Room because they have like 5 years of development already in that field, and there's like a big gamer development community actually developing for this platform. Spatial doesn't have it. Like I think like Spatial should actually concentrate more on the business meeting side and galleries, how it was designed from the beginning. I think that would actually make it better. I think like trying to do something with Spatial that it was never meant to be, and you don't even have the community for that. I don't think that it's a good idea. I'm not sure, but I don't have a good feeling about that because they will never be able to compete with VRChat on that part. They would be like, I don't know how many developers are here in Spatial. VRChat has like 30 people and they have like 5 years of experience already. I don't know how that's supposed to work. They can't really keep up.
Do you have any idea of the numbers that they each speak about in terms of, I don't know what you'd call them, members or whatever? I know VR Chat has a pretty large community, but I don't know what Spatial has.
So Spatial. So when you can look at the Spatial, the most popular events. I mean, Spatial, the most popular event like the Boss or like some of these like bigger events here. I think the favorites are like a few thousand, maybe like 3,000, 5,000 favorites. Let it be like let me see. Spatial. Are you getting these numbers? It's maybe like maximum. Yeah, it's a few thousand. It's bigger. Like it's maybe bigger than. Yeah, it's maybe even about the size of Altspace. I would say maybe a bit bigger than Altspace. I mean, Boss is at like 40, almost 40K visits. It's the biggest, like one of the biggest spaces here in Spatial. It's 1.2K favorites, and that's like here for quite a time, like 2 months or something. But 1.2K favorites is something we got with Elysium in 1 day or 2 days in VR chat. So there's such a big difference between these numbers, and VR chat has like concurrent users at the same time up to 80,000 people at the same time, and probably millions of daily active users.
I think one of the interesting things about Spatial is every single person I run into, all of them are creatives. Like, I think the difference between this and VR chat, I'm curious what the difference is between how many people come in just to play the game and how many people are actually creating in VR chat. I want to say almost the whole entire user base of Spatial are all creatives.
That's maybe true, but still you have like far more creatives in total in VR chat. Like there's like when you have a community, there's a community meetup like every Sunday in VR chat, and you have like 80 people in that room, like always, because many people can't even get in, and that's not even like 1% of the community maybe. There are so many developers over there because like it's built up from a really PC centered community, like a developer community, a gaming community. Like not everywhere is in VR chat for gaming, but like there are many Unity developers over there. And like, of course, there are different fields, like there are avatar creators, there are world creators, there are game creators. You have a bigger range of different people in VR chat, I guess. And like many people, like if you count everyone, like it's probably more than Spatial has users in total. But I would guess it's thousands of developers in VR chat.
Yeah, I definitely think
So when you,
there's a difference in the business model too, and the kind of community that they want to create. Sorry, Joanne, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If Spatial is trying to go into the same direction like VRChat is, they will not be able to compete. I think Spatial should actually concentrate on the original idea, doing more like this business type, um, like an accessible business meeting thing, and they will definitely need better tools here. I think like better moderation tools and all that would be really helpful for Spatial. Spatial doesn't need like things where you can drive around. Like all the interactive things I saw here in Spatial, I mean, they have it, but it's not really that good. If they will concentrate on like the important things for businesses, I think that
with the
would be
tools, I
much
think with
better.
the tools like the driving vehicles and things like that, they're trying to figure out a way of making developers want to come in here, so they come up with the basic tools that anyone can use. For them, sort of more to introduce the idea that the fact that you could do like a visual scripting in here, it's all done through visual scripting.
Yeah. Maybe that's the idea, but will they actually be successful? Because like all the developers I know end up in VRChat because you have like 100 times more capabilities in VRChat than you would ever have in Spatial. So, like, what's the reason for people getting to Spatial? Usually, you want to like have some kind of business model, or you want to attract companies or potential customers. You want to have like an easy access to some kind of metaverse idea. I think that's why people are using Spatial, I guess, and because that's not possible in VRChat. Like VRChat, like if you want to attract like companies and want to invite something in an easy way, like VRChat is definitely not the right platform because it's extremely complicated to onboarding, and that's like the difference in Spatial. But they should really concentrate on that side.
I
And
think
you don't
spatial is
need
about the creative economy.
drivable.
I think really spatial is about building up a creative economy. So their model is for the creatives to actually be able to create things and create um, or be able to sell them. So I think that's kind of more of the direction. It's like a much better version of like Voxel. What is it? What was that? That other blockchain space, Voxel, the other Garnet. I can't remember.
Yeah, but to actually sell it, you would
Oh,
need.
Neos?
Let's say
You mean
yeah.
Neos?
Let's say you can actually sell stuff here, but it only has like spaces only have value in a platform when it has visitors, and they need to attract like people, and need interesting content. I mean, but they will never be able to compete with the content on other platforms because they are like light years ahead already. So they would have to like they would really have to focus on like more like the most important features, and that's more like business features. It's not drivable vehicles, and it's something else. Like they need moderation tools, they need like all that stuff. Working on the sound, for example, like
Yeah, the
something
sound is
really
terrible. We have a
important.
plan to help them with that.
Uh, yeah,
The
yeah,
sound is
and
terrible.
also like extremely like moderation tools. Like there are so many moderation tools that would need here, and capabilities for streaming. To like there are so many small things. Like even for like business events, I think if they would concentrate on that and make it more usable for these kinds of events, could be more interesting.
They did have streaming built
Also for
into it, but they got rid
certain
of it. I don't
types
know
of
why. That was interesting.
yeah, I know, like, but why? They are building in like drivable vehicles that no one really wants to use, but getting rid of like really important features. That's what I mean. Like with concentrating, they would have to concentrate on like really important features and don't use their original idea. They're trying to do something they can't compete with, and like that's probably not a really good tactic, not a good strategy. Um,
You know, one of the things that I've noticed in Spatial, if you're not a Unity developer, it's a lot easier to bring something in here. So it's unfortunate that more people just who don't have as much skill aren't sort of trying, and it's easier for people who don't necessarily have the ability to do like hardcore Unity development.
Yeah, yeah, that's something that's missing in VRChat definitely. I hope. I mean, I don't think VRChat will ever do it. But also, like, you can maybe place some elements here. But it's not like a world builder, like we had in Altspace. I mean, you would. I don't think like you could actually build a complete world with a world builder here, like we were able in Altspace. I think that's the part like where Vacuum will take over, because they are implementing Unity now, and once Vacuum have custom shader support, I guess like on the building side, in-game building side, it would be like far beyond anything else. So yeah, I don't know. They could concentrate on the building, like the world builder here, but also like be a lot of use. I don't really know how big the development team is. Yeah? And how much they can actually, how many people actually could work on that kind of feature. But they have to concentrate on something, because like they are trying to do everything somehow, but doesn't seem they actually make something like some feature really good, and then they should do it. Like they have some, they would need some kind of unique selling feature. You know what I mean?
Well,
but
just a
kind
FYI
of
for everyone, we're streaming this to Facebook. Well, I don't. There's no one watching it right now, so. And I'm also streaming it to YouTube. But just wanted to give everyone a heads up in case you didn't hear me say it before. But I think, I really think, so far, like the accessibility to the development team and the senior people at Spatial, I've had the most success in actually directly connecting with them in some format. They're all on the Slacks. I mean, I think really what needs to happen, I think people's thought processes and development ideas need to come out to their development team. And they have the Discord and they have a Slack channel, and it's pretty. They're actually pretty open to hearing these things. They have Twitter Spaces, Garnet, so they have Twitter Spaces like 3 times a week, or at least Monday and Wednesday. The Spatial team is available. Because one of the things we're talking about on a much higher level is to work or to contact or communicate with the Spatial team on some of these improvements that need to happen. Because I think they could compete, but they really need to change what they're doing. I think if the sound quality got better, people would want to do music events in here. And I think if people were doing music events here, it's much simpler to put it in the space. And the ability to actually have ticketing, and they could actually build that in to have ticketing. So I think really
ticketing would be one thing.
Yeah, I think that would really be nice to be able to do all of these things. But at the end of the day, I guess really it's the community needs to speak up, but they also need to communicate something that makes sense money wise to the Spatial team. So I'm just curious. So me and Garnet are for some of these development enhancements. Because I think for me personally, I mean, I had okay success with VR chat and I really love it, but the problem is, it's much more complicated if you're on a Mac, which is okay. I mean, I still run Parallels and I can run Windows, it's not a problem. But they're also not multi-platform. And the nice thing about here, what they have and very unique, is you can do it on your phone too. So if you want to play a little kind of game experience, you can do it on your phone. And we've actually had a few people come on the phone just because they saw it when I made a post, and they had a lot of fun doing it. So I think if VR chat, if they would blow away everyone if they would just like open it up a little bit more, maybe put some Mac development.
But they are doing it. Yeah, but they are doing it. So VRChat is actually already announced that they are working on an iOS and Android app that will be released first for the VRChat Plus users in the first months, and like at the end of the year, will they make it public? So they actually will release it now, like a iOS and Android. And I really and if they have iOS, I think it could also go on VisionOS. I mean, Recumus will be on VisionOS. I think like if they can go on iOS, it's quite likely that will go on. That they also go there. So
I think it would be nice if they opened it up to Mac development, though. I mean, like, I'm on a Mac and I would like to do VR chat, except the problem is the only SDK I can use is one that is already deprecated.
Yeah.
I think in the end, though, in general, virtual reality development is still what's a good word for it? Not really widely used. Even 80,000 people is not
That's
nothing
nothing.
compared to the United States. Just the United States. Forget about the whole
Yeah,
entire world.
but 80,000 is like concurrent users. It's not daily active users. Daily active users is millions. That's a difference. Concurrent users 80,000 is not even that bad.
Yeah, but the difference between concurrent users and daily active users, how many people of those daily active users are going back?
Almost all of them.
I'd really be curious to see those numbers from VR chat. Does it?
I mean, it's actually really obvious, like that you have a big community that actually comes back all the time. Like the amount, like it's not easy to get into VR chat, but once people are like actually in VR chat, most of them actually stay there. Like there are really few people who leave VR chat to something else because the capabilities there and the complexity, like what you can do there, and the range of experiences and events is like far beyond any other platform. And you always find something new and new people. I mean that's really like not comparable to spatial, and it's really like active, and they're coming back all the time. I mean that's something I wouldn't even, I think like in that is something I would like expect from spatial, that you have like people like going through a web browser into an event, looking at some of these things you can do there, like some NFTs or like I don't know, maybe driving around with a vehicle. But I actually think most people don't go back to spatial because they're just looking at it and it's like don't really stay a lot, except the developer community who wants to build stuff here. But I think from a user perspective, I don't really think many people stay here.
It's ironic
and in
because
VR
I
chat,
think
it's
most
the
of the
opposite.
most of the spatial community is a developer community. I want to say pretty much 90% of it, at least everyone I've run into, it's all developers. And I think really what they're doing is really about creative marketplace. So I think really in the end, it's just like the one thing that the spatial lacks is a little bit better SDK, which I'm sure they can really improve on, and just building up their community a little bit. Because the one thing that kind of turned me off to VR chat, I love VR chat. Every one of my friends is in VR chat. When I was in the Oculus Launchpad program, they used VR chat as the example of social VR. But there's just too many people in there who are unmoderated. And I think what happens is I kind of just didn't want to be in there so much. But I mean, you can make private instances. But I'm curious of the millions of people in VR chat, how many of them are just like screaming kids versus people who are developers and people who are doing this.
Yeah, but
that was my question.
But you have to kind of have to self-moderate in VR chat. I mean, the problem with VR chat, like you don't have like people like from VR chat going around and moderate the kids. Like it's self-moderating. All the systems they implemented is so people can do that moderation themselves with friends instances, with private group
instances. Can
instances.
also moderate. Like if VR chat created like a program like AltSpace had, and they have it here in Spatial, would they have Spatians, or if they had like a community helper, they could do it. The community could help.
But they don't need it. But they don't really need it because like if you have a group system or like, and you can make a group instance and the group instance, you can see all the group instances from the groups you were in, and you have friends instances. They are already moderating this. Like if you have like someone on your friend list who is like a screaming kid, like you will just remove them from the friend list and you will never go back to your instance. Once you actually are in like your VR chat bubbles, like it's forming bubbles. It's like Facebook groups basically. You're forming like bubbles and you can self-moderate. Like you don't need like a VR chat moderator to do that. You can just do you can just use the moderation tools of the group and just kick out the bad people and you can just remove people from your friend list. Sometimes, like for days in VR chat, I'm not seeing any screaming kid. Like even in public instances sometimes,
Well,
but
that's
in
good
friends
because that
instances
was
never.
something I remember for a lot of. So
But
hopefully it's less.
that's usually something you will find like when you're first in VR chat and you're not really there a long time. I think like 99% of the people that go into VR chat, like the first experience they have is some world with like screaming kids, with like people sitting in front of a mirror that they're changing their avatars all the time, screaming and scribble molesting a hot dog, and you know what's going on.
Well, I want to
it's
molest a hot dog.
it's,
Well,
it's
that
just,
sounds fun.
I mean that's VR chat, and but that's like the tip of the iceberg. I always like say it's the tip of the iceberg in VR chat, like a really unpleasant side of it. But the big side of VR chat, like actually 90% of VR chat is much different from the stuff from the public places with screaming kids. Like there are two like really different sides of VR chat, and once you go into that like the big part, like the big bubbles in VR chat, and once you have your friend list, it's actually really usable, and it's not even that much different from Altspace, from the Altspace community. It's like more diverse community, like it's more like different kinds of communities, more like just developer community. There are like a big furry community, and
Right.
like there are many different kinds of communities. But once you like are into these bubbles, you will never find anyone below 18 and screaming and trolls. You will just not find these people anymore because they're all in the public instances trolling around.
I think one of the things too about VR chat, of course, there's going to be a bunch of trolls in there because there's so many people in there. I mean, by like scale, I'm sure it's the same amount of trolls that were in Altspace and all the other platforms. But since they have so many people in there, there's going to be a lot of that. But one of the things that I'm finding that's a little bit more kind of challenging is I think really what we need to do is help inspire the kids to do development. And I think what's happening is if we had more community members in there kind of like helping arrange that, maybe more creative mentorship, then all of these kids who are putting their energy into becoming a troll and just cursing and screaming, they could start learning digital design and how to do this stuff. And
Yeah.
one of the things that we're working on here is how to take this digital twin and use it to actually design other places to build sustainable communities. So we're using VR in a very hybrid way. So we're using it to have like a fun gamified area, but we're also using it to design other communities, like physically design them. So all the buildings, architecture, all of that stuff. And that's kind of the thing about spatial that was kind of for what we're doing made it very ideal, is we can very easily do that, and we can very easily use like high-end architecture software to create the models, and of course it's just simpler to upload. Of course we have to make them efficient and all of that stuff, but what we can do is make environments that we could show people, okay, this is what your property is going to look like when we build it. And they can also connect it with other people, so when they have people coming who are, let's say, a volunteer, we have volunteers come here monthly, and the volunteers can actually go into spaces and learn about the physical space. And when they learn about the physical space, they can learn about how the farm works. They can learn what we have growing in the farm. They can learn about green energy and all of these different things. And I am not sure I have seen much of this in any of the social VR platforms. So what we're looking to do here is to create a bridge between physical and virtual realities and use it as a complete education tool, but more than just a gamified virtual reality space, but also something that is matched to a physical reality location to sort of bring people to the physical reality place, and vice versa, for us to be able to help develop other spaces globally with a simple tool set. So I think really what happens in the virtual reality environment, I don't really see anyone doing this. And this is kind of my biggest problem with that. It's just we have a power here. We have the power to actually use these digital tools to teach. We have the power to use these digital tools to make fantastic worlds in these digital spaces that we can actually physically build them in the physical reality. And I think the connection is why so many trolls and there's so many kids screaming in VR chat, because all of that nervous energy could be redirected into creative energy, and I think it's just lacking a mentorship program. So I think that's one of the things about Spatial that I like. Now they really need to work a lot on this platform. They need to do a lot of stuff with like community, understanding that someone's actually in the space. I think they're going to release that in an update. But I think just what's lacking in every single platform in general is the real community. Like we have our communities and we're all friends and we stay connected regardless of where we're in. And AltSpace was very unique that way. I think AltSpace really built communities where we stayed all friends outside of that. But I think really one of the things and challenges that AltSpace didn't do, or that I created, was they kind of made things a little too easy and didn't make us have to work a little bit. So that means actually going out and promoting what we're doing, going out and trying to do our social medias to show the different things that we're up to, creating events that was basically just based on representing what we're all doing, creating mentorship programs and things like that. So I really hope that the virtual spaces start really doing that, because right now for me, I'm kind of skeptical about the whole entire virtual space to begin with, because it's fun and we're having all sorts of cool things we can do, but unlike some of the things you've been doing, Nico, because you have had education tied to it, I'm really curious how many people are going in that direction, and that's kind of more of what we need to do. So I think really just in general we need to push for more of a, I want to say, edutainment. A lot of people use that word edutainment, where it's really fun, but yet it is also real
And
real studying.
and I think like we have to show what's possible. I mean, for example, the solar system from Altspace, and that I made tours in Altspace, and I had this asteroid impact on planet Earth, and like of course I implemented it into VR chat. And like the first days, I was being in the public instances of that world, and I actually saw a lot of screaming kids in that space. And it was meant as an educational place, but of course we had screaming kids. But then actually something happened that really surprised me. I was going to Earth, and they found this button, because everyone is able to press that button for the asteroid impact. And that one kid like got that button and clicked on it, and they actually looked at the animation, and you actually saw that the screaming kids actually shut down for like 3 minutes,
Right.
not saying anything. Look at the animation, and they actually said, "Oh, that is cool," and actually really be quiet for a moment. And I think that really shows that the potential behind that, and maybe even inspires some of them to do something like that. But you really need interesting content. You need the right content for these kids to inspire them, and you really make it interesting. You can't just give them something like they will just scream around and
Oh yeah,
and
of course. That's
um,
definitely the truth. One of the things we're
yeah.
looking to do here is an artisan residency program in Heartland Collective. And the artisan residency program is going to start with 18 and over, just because of legal purposes. It's easier to have an entity that is with adults versus children, because there's different legal things here we have to deal with, and insurance and all that stuff. But eventually we're looking to develop a whole entire makerspace and a whole entire community center. And the whole thought process would be, for me at least, to think of in a makerspace is to teach digital design when kids are very young and still a little too young to use power tools. And then what we do is we start taking these spaces and modifying them a little bit to where we can still make this really cool stuff, but we're actually teaching them critical skills in life, critical skills on how to design, how to build, their emotions and all of that stuff, because I think this is one of the biggest things lacking in any of the VR environments. And of course you're doing it, so that's good. But I think really what's kind of disappointing is there are not more people stepping up and doing that. So I think really, regardless of the platform, I think what we need is more mentors and more educators, and I think everything would be good, and the content would be there. I think if there was more impact, people asking for that here, things would change. I think what happens is a lot of people don't realize how much power their voice actually has, and I think if everyone said, hey, listen, we want to see this in development, and they proved a good point for their business model and how much it would help, because I've seen a lot of different platforms in general, and the 180-degree direction was spatial. And I think what happened is they tried to do too many cool things at once, and that kind of just created chaos. But I think
That's what I mean.
yeah, focusing on
That's what that's
education.
yeah,
just
that's
focus on
exactly
education.
what I mean. They're trying to be something they are not really meant to be, and then they're trying to do like everything somehow, but they're losing their focus. That's what I meant
Oh, I know
actually by
exactly
like
what you
you
meant,
really
man,
have
and you're
to.
right. I think really what
Yeah.
they should do is focus on the development of the platform. But I think at the end, I think us as community members really need to focus on, regardless of what platform we're in, to actually do mentorship programs if we can. We're all responsible here for that. Every single one of us. And I still see you joining, Kurt. Hopefully that's not because your internet connection is terrible. But I think what we all need to do in general is, if we have the power and the ability to be a mentor in whatever capacity that is, we should. And we all are. I'm not saying we're not. I'm just saying we, as just a general we. And I think more people could step up to do that regardless of what they do, even if it's not development in digital spaces. Maybe it's just some kind of an education. They can use these digital spaces to actually help educate other people. And I'm sure, in your experience, Kalima, you've seen that the education world is just difficult in general. And I don't know how much it's changed over, let's say, the past decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, let's say in the United States. I mean, how do you see the education in general in your own experience? And do you see a way or ability for these spaces to help change that?
Absolutely. Education over the years has become so regimented and inflexible, and it's burning teachers out, it's burning the students out. And you were talking about edutainment before, and I think that's what so many of the students are looking for. School is boring, it wears them down the way the school is run these days, and there's no time for creative thought or creative building anymore. And to bring students into a virtual space immediately gets their attention. You can show things in a virtual space that you can't see on paper, pencil, work. You can see things changed. You can see the dynamics of a situation change. You can see the mathematical relationships change. There's so much that you can do in a VR space that you cannot show in a typical classroom. And educators are just now, I think, exploring the ways that we can use this. And there's not enough out there. I've looked at a lot of education apps. Some do it really well, some do it really badly. And that's because we're still learning what works and what doesn't in virtual spaces. But it's absolutely something we need to keep looking at and exploring and finding the ways that it fits into the curriculum and how it can help kids stay engaged. Engagement is one of the big things that teachers fight against.
So just for our
kids are not
viewers
engaged.
who are on the Facebook and the YouTube, maybe you could just go into a little bit about your experience with the education world, which gives you so much insight because you do have it. So maybe you could do a quick little intro on that.
Yeah, sure. I have a master's in mathematics. I've been teaching at the college level for about 30 years. I've taught community college. I've taught major research universities. Mathematics, anything from pre-algebra up to calculus 2 and calculus based probably in statistics, sets and logic, mathematics for teachers, things like that. Taught a really wide range of courses mostly at the freshman and some sophomore level in college. So I've seen a lot of students come and go. I've also had some high school experience. And then the other thing I've done is a lot of work with middle schoolers and science Olympiad teams, which is a lot of fun because that's another place that the students are getting away from all paper and pencil. They're building things. They had a Wi-Fi event that my son was in this past year, and they're building things to send Wi-Fi stuff. He had some kind of detector event, and again, they're building things to detect changes and stuff. So this kind of engagement is exactly what we need. It's what keeps the students going, keeps the students learning, rather than sticking a paper and pencil in their hand all the time and saying, sit down and do this.
Yeah,
Get them
exactly.
up, get them out of the chairs. Yeah, the active learning is so much of what we need. And putting them in a headset, it's not the same as being out in the real world doing things, but it's definitely something that's going to open their eyes to things they can't see sitting at their desk.
Right. I mean, I was
So,
talking about this today, that so many people I've met here at the digital space, in some ways, are greater friends to me than people I've met physically, because the only thing we really have to share is our minds and our voices. We
hmm
share who we really are, which is pretty
right.
amazing. So, Nico, maybe for the stream, if you could just give a little context to you and your background, because you have a definitely incredible background. So maybe people will understand a little bit more about some of the things you were talking about. Maybe you could just go a little bit about talk a little bit about yourself.
So, so I have a background in design and programming. I'm working as an IT consultant, and I was doing development in iSpace VR for a while, like 3 years until it shut down. I was specializing a lot of into shaders. Kind of makes sense because it's like a mix of this design background and the programming background. Shaders, it's like a mix of both somehow.
Could you explain to the
And
non-nerds about what a shader is, just real quick?
a shader is basically a small program that generates materials and effects in 3D programs. Like this effect down here, for example, is a shader. It's a really simple shader, but it's basically an effect, like how a surface is rendered, basically. Um, any texture you see on the ground is also a shader, but it's more about animations,
Right.
how it reacts to light and all that.
A super
And,
material. It's like a
and
super material with a interactive option, or it just does more than just
yeah,
looks like
yeah.
it's on the
There are
screen.
many different things. Yeah, there are many different things you can do with shaders. It's quite a complex area. But yeah, so that's shaders, and yeah, that's my background, and I made it especially for mobile devices, and I'm still doing it because you can do a lot more on PCs, but I think when you really want to do virtual reality, I think you really have to consider like these mobile devices. Like even on VR chat, that's a really VR, like a really PC-centered community. It's probably half of the people using Quest devices. And I think in Icewiz it was more, but it's still really important to make content that is Quest compatible and performant on Quest. And that's not an easy task. Quest just is not really the same like a high-end gaming PC.
Right.
But it's definitely possible. That's something I'm specializing on, basically.
I think also it's important for in order to get real user base, in order to get accessibility, you need to kind of have it available on a mobile device. Just because some people just want to be, some people might just be interested in learning something about whatever the space is about, and they get more inspired to maybe get a computer, use it on the computer, or even a headset. So, Lost
Yeah.
Wild, my co-host, what are your thoughts? And maybe give a little bit of a background on yourself, because me and you have been doing this show for quite a long time, um, and maybe what you're
Yeah,
working on, how it ties
maybe
into education.
I'll make some comments on what you guys were talking about, and maybe Spatial's niche market or something like that. But of course, I've been teaching filmmaking within the, the school district. So being grade 8 kids to 12 kids, they were kind of a specialized opt-in. They have to pay to be in our classes, but it takes place in regular school time, and it takes the place of 2 of their credits. So a couple of thoughts in terms of what's Spatial could be really good at. There was a case where I got brought into a meeting from the fire and safety guys. Now these guys look after 20 schools in the district. So their job is to communicate emergency preparedness. If there's a lockdown, like a fire or a shooter situation, they have to educate teachers and students on what to do in those cases. And Spatial, I actually brought Spatial up in one of those meetings because I thought Spatial is a great way to show like what happens in a 3D space during these emergencies. And the idea that, you know, you can access a model, like you can load a model in, you can gamify it somewhat, and, you know, kids and or teachers can access it with their mobile phone or iPads or whatever. I think that's super cool. And then for the sort of deluxe experience, they can put a headset on, and what do you do in case of a fire? So, like, these guys, they were going, wow, no one listens to us. Like, no one wants to watch these boring fire videos. But if you could, you know, simulate a situation like that, play it as a game character, that actually becomes, you know, fun, educational, and potentially
Life-saving?
students.
Life-saving potentially?
Yeah, like kind of world-changing kind of stuff. And so I think it was very simple. I'm like, look at, there's already school models in like Sketchfab that you could set up very easily. You don't have to have a big, you know, $100,000 budget and go to a ad agency to pull off something like this. Like you could actually do it. That's where like I see Spatial as being potentially good and fun at.
Yeah, they have a really good ability at that because you can upload any model very simply directly to the platform and then show it to someone. I think that was unique. That's very unique.
Yeah, but like where it's really sucking is actually even meetings like this. It's not great. Like, I don't know if any of you guys have been in Big Screen, like the app for watching movies together. Even that reminds me more of almost a better version of, well, not a better version of AltSpace, but the actual experience of talking to people in virtual space. It feels more natural. They've got their avatars, eye contact is working, and that's kind of what I miss. Like even from AltSpace to here, I love the idea that we can have customized like avatars, you know, but yeah, there's just a lot of broken things still in Spatial. It's got ways to go, and I agree with Nico on sort of, I don't know, his assessment, I guess. But yeah, if they play to their strength, crowd, maybe this is like a gateway to VR, something like that, where you start on a mobile app and
I stopped hearing you, Lost Wild. I don't know if that's just me or everyone else. Sorry.
Okay for me.
That was just me.